Today's show is brought to you by brewtag.com. BRAUTAG, the new Brewtag Premium Brewing System, is a high-quality Herm system developed by yours truly to take your brewing to the next level. And by yours truly, I mean Todd and James. The Brewtag consists of 3 premium stainless steel 20-gallon kettles, perfect for brewing 15-gallon batches, and each comes equipped with durable ball valves and easy-to-use stainless steel quick connects. The Brewtag controller is an innovative, no-nonsense controller developed to make your brew day better. It's easy to understand, which makes it easier for you to fully control the brewing process. Dial in your temperatures with ease and control the entire process at the flick of a switch or the push of a button. The Brewtag also comes with 2 premium centrifugal pumps and all the necessary cables conveniently labeled just for you. Go to brewtag.com and learn more about our special introductory offer, which includes $500 off MSRP, free shipping, and a ton of free add-ons, such as a 15-gallon recipe kit of your choice, 3 packs of liquid Imperial Yeast, a premium refractometer, pH meter and testing kit, a 1-year membership to Brewer's Friend Premium, SandStep sanitizer, Brew Clean, and more. Head over to brewtag.com to find a list of our retail partners and let us help make your brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Sparkling water secrets, easy kolsch recipes, beer pairings advice, and getting your partner into brewing with you. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 244. Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I'm by myself. I'm all by myself. I am not kidding. This is not a drill. I had mentioned to Todd and James when they left town. I was like, hold on, let me just kill the music. I had mentioned to them, or you know what? I don't have to kill the music that way. I could kill the music this way. That way I don't forget to turn it back up when we're wrapping up the show. Yeah, it might be against my better judgment, but Todd and James are in Germany, allegedly having a good time. They've been sending me photos of them smiling and drinking kolsch and alt beer as they've been to Cologne and Dusseldorf without me. Todd directly said, having a great time, don't wish you were here. That hurt my feelings. And then when I had said, hey, I forgot to try to get another guest on the show this week. What can y'all do? They said, oh, yeah, we can come on. But for like 5 minutes, we'll give you 5 minutes of our time because we're very, very busy international men of business. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to cancel a week. And Todd said, the questions that you fielded, just answer them yourself. And I said, but Todd, what am I really going to do? And he said, I'm not joking. Why don't you just test it and see if you can do it on your own? He said, Josh, I'm not always going to be here. And then it got real deep and awkward conversation. And I thought maybe he had some health thing he was going to reveal, but no, he just means he's getting older, but he's not even old. He's like 53. But anyway, he and James are having a great time. And like I said, they did give me 5 minutes of their time. I got up. I'm trying to replicate as much as I can from when I recorded it with them early this morning. I got up at 5:30 a.m. Central so that I wouldn't be an inconvenience to them. Because, again, they're on a business trip, and the implications are I can't inconvenience them. But I got up super early to record it. I think I actually shaved a little. So if I look a little different, like I lost weight, I did record this segment this morning with Todd and James. And so let us get right to that. I do have Todd and James on the line. They are able to join me. It looks like y'all are having a terrible time without me. Hello, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
We're in Xanten, Germany, at the Colosseum, the Roman Colosseum.
Yep.
And my friend Bauman is filming us, and we're here.
Julie's back there.
We've had a few alt beers and a few kolsch beers. And,
Well, we had today.
we haven't had anything today, but I mean, while we've been here, we've
But
had some.
you could have, because there it's like 3:30 p.m., right? I mean, it's drinking time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually driving Stefan's car, his very nice car. So I think I'm going to wait till I get back to the hotel.
Oh, yeah. We don't drink and drive no matter what country.
No, you don't. You don't have to
right.
wait, but I have to wait because I don't want to drive. I'm not real comfortable driving in Germany as I am in Texas. So
He's doing a really good job. I was impressed. He was able to.
if you can keep up with Stefan going over 3 lines of traffic to get out, then you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'll keep it short because I know y'all are busy. Y'all look terribly busy. Real quick.
A lot of work to do.
Field
today.
research.
Yeah, field research. Y'all were in Cologne. Y'all made me jealous. I have to know there was 2 kolsch that I'd never had before that y'all were showing me. Dome, and I forgot the name of the other one. Where do they rank, James, in regards to top kolsch?
Yeah, well, he did. I don't think he had the Dome, but it was very good. Oh, you went back and had it? Okay.
Kitty Cat.
Oh no, Dome, not Dome. The other one that we drank. It had the. Yeah, I forgot. It had the windmill on it.
Yeah.
That one was
The
really
Dome,
good.
I would say, Josh, was better than Peter's, and that's not a small statement.
No, it's not. I was surprised when you texted me that.
Yeah, I don't remember having it before, but it's definitely a must-have if you're in Cologne.
I was so jealous. I had asked Todd to buy me a hat from Fru, and he's told me I will never buy you another hat because all I wear is this purple hat.
Not gonna do it.
Yeah,
It
you
was
killed
Dome.
that vibe.
Oh, Meister, or I'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find
Yeah,
it. The other one was really good too, I thought. So
We'll find
we
it.
had some really good new beers that you haven't had, Joe. Oh, we have had Olds that he hasn't had too.
Bolton off.
Yeah.
Really good. We had that last
And
night.
we're going to a new brewery tonight. It's a very old brewery, but it's a brewery. An alt brewery we've never been to, but I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, and they have different styles of alt, is what Stefan said.
Yeah.
When you were in Cologne, did you go to the jazz club, and was my Fraulein there waiting for me?
She specifically asked for you. She said, "Where's my little Joshua?"
Whatever. That lady was 84 when I saw her 4 years ago. She's now.
She's in her 80s now.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I forget. So next week as well, I won't have y'all. Right? Y'all aren't coming back till like the 25th.
We'll be in Amsterdam next week.
Yeah.
Oh, can we do a recap? Can we do a recap call with y'all in Amsterdam, please? Please.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's happening.
Perfect. Hey guys, I really do appreciate y'all's time, and I'm looking forward to having y'all back because the show I'm doing by myself is a total failure. So
we know it's going to be damn good, Josh.
yeah,
it always.
yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much, man. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Yes.
Juice.
Yeah. See. Wasn't that fun? Didn't they look good for people who are watching this and people who are listening? I apologize for the audio issues. Something that bothers me about Zoom, and I think I know why they do it. Especially on their phone app, if you're talking to someone and if they're talking to you, you hear them clearly for a bit. And as soon as you try to talk sometimes over them or with them or at the same time as them, it kills one of the audios, and I think they're doing it as to not cause a mess in the ears. But on that, you could hear just cut them off, and it took like a second and a half to get them back on. It could have been a combination of their internet connection in the middle of nowhere. I appreciate Todd for using up his data for that 5-minute phone call with me, because every trip I've ever gone with them to Germany, he always stresses, this is costing me a lot. Get off Instagram, Josh. And I don't know if it actually cost him a lot, or if he just gets annoyed that I'm like a teenager on my cell phone the whole trip and not engaging with him. But anyway, something else that we had talked about doing. So one of the feedback we get on the show, or some of the feedback we get, one of the feedback, I don't think that's grammatically correct. We sometimes get accused of digressing, of going off topic during the small talk. And some people, not as kind as others, have left us feedback in our reviews, such as like, the show's not bad, the information's not bad, but sometimes they just talk about their personal life and I just don't like that about the show. And it's some guy actually, I think on Reddit, did use the word, it's horrific or atrocious. He used the word atrocious. He goes, when they do their little small talk thing, it's atrocious. And I had to look up the definition because I thought that was a pretty harsh word, but we've ruined people's running. We've ruined people's, or people think we're atrocious. Everyone has an opinion on the internet, but I do take that stuff into consideration because we do want to make a nice polished product. So something that I was trying here, we're going to do listener feedback on future episodes. People have been receiving that well. Something else we've talked about implementing in small talk, if it's not beer related in our own personal lives, just not even bringing it up, but instead dedicating a few minutes to kind of craft beer news, like what's going on in the world of craft beer, not just home brewing, because there is a lot of headlines lately. A lot of it's about big beer, macro breweries, but still relevant to all of our interests from, again, the feedback I gather from you guys in your emails and text messages and voicemails. So this week I don't have a bumper for it, and I don't want to play the listener feedback bumper because it's not listener feedback, but we do have, I have a couple of headlines. Let me see if I can bring them over on here. Are y'all able to see? There we go. First headline I wanted to talk about today. I read this and I kind of laughed. PepsiCo and Boston Beer to create alcoholic Mountain Dew drink. It says PepsiCo and Boston Beer are teaming up to create Hard Mountain Dew, which is an alcoholic flavored malt beverage. The drink is expected to hit shelves by early 2022. Pepsi has been trying to use the heft of the Mountain Dew name for several years to move the soda into new categories. And Boston Beer, for listeners who aren't able to see the article, they're Sam Adams. That's basically Sam Adams is Boston Beer. So they are teaming up with PepsiCo, and they're going to make an alcoholic version of Mountain Dew, which when I say that, I laugh only because just saying alcoholic makes me laugh. They're making a hard Mountain Dew. Do you know how, if I were to have gone in a coma my freshman year of high school, the year's 2001, and all I remember is Halo, the video game, and Britney Spears is in the headline, and I love Mountain Dew, and I went into a coma, and then you woke me up in 2021. I wouldn't know it wasn't 2001 still. We're back. Halo, I think, is coming out in a month. I mean, I'm told that the new Halo's coming out. I'm an adult. I don't play video games anymore. But Halo, there's a new Halo coming out this year. My buddies from high school and I could not be more thrilled. Mountain Dew, I haven't given a chance again. I haven't had soda regularly since probably high school, but I'm going to try this as I play Halo coming out later this year. And again, we all know about the Free Britney stuff. It is crazy. I am not that interested, actually. I mean, I'm going to do this for the novelty of it, and maybe that's what PepsiCo is banking on, is a novelty with Mountain Dew, that they're going to be that 35, mid-30s, young 30s, late 20s demographic that has this nostalgia for Mountain Dew, because I can't imagine people still drink Mountain Dew as an adult. Maybe I'll edit that out because I don't want to offend anybody. Mountain Dew, I just don't remember it being good beyond for what my taste buds were when I was like 14 through 17-ish, or 12 through 17-ish, which now my taste is very different. Not my taste in fashion, but my palate, my literal palate is different. I like I said, I imagine them teaming up with Boston Beer is the best business decision of this whole thing. Two massive conglomerates who have been known to make consistently buyable beverages for their whole brands have been, established for decades, and they've proven in the soda world and in the beer world that they know what they're doing to sell a product. And their market research obviously came back suggesting that this is a realm they should enter. Now, again, for me, it sounds like a goofy thing I would suggest if I was on that marketing team to try to justify my job. Like, oh, numbers are down. Mountain Dew just needs to come back. And, what if, hear me out, what if we add booze to it? And then, Stubing, that's a great idea. You're going to get a raise. And then, if it flops, then I would get fired rather, and have to find some other thing to do. But I would love to know if this is of interest to you. And if not, is there a soda that you would go, adding some alcohol to this Dr. Pepper would make life better? And speaking of my high school self, I may have experimented with various boozes and various sodas out of pure stupidity, but maybe I was ahead of my time. I never did alcoholic Mountain Dew, which I imagine they're going to be using like a vodka spirit for this. One thing this episode is going to reveal is that I don't know what I'm talking about 90% of the time, and it's not a shtick. But so if you know what they'll probably use, put it in the comments below. But I have a great recipe for hard seltzer, which is using actual already distilled spirit with soda water. It's the easiest way to do it, and then serve it without actually fermenting your own. But I know a lot of y'all out there who make your own hard seltzer prefer to ferment it yourself and be a part of that whole process. So I don't know what they'd be doing. If I flip back over to the article, I wonder if it even talks about it in here. No, and this is one truth we do know. Meanwhile, the beer category as a whole has been struggling. Overall beer volume declined 2.8% despite total alcohol consumption increasing by its highest rate in nearly 2 decades. That is an unfortunate truth, guys. And I blame the younger millennials. I think I'm technically a millennial. I blame Gen Zers, the Zoomers, and those people who care about their health. How dare you? But they're the ones who all these health alcoholic drinks are being geared towards. And I imagine, even though the Mountain Dew one's not going to be considered a health one, that is probably geared again towards my age and younger, because it's that's who's probably interested. I can't imagine my pop at the beach having a Lone Star and then going, "Son, pass me a hard Mountain Dew." I can't imagine anyone doing that, to be honest. So maybe they're trying to hit up the 22-year-olds, or maybe they're trying to hit up the 17-year-olds with fake IDs. I have no idea, but it is an interesting thing. And then before I move on to the actual question part of the show, I do have another article that did also make me laugh. It says, let me see if I can switch over to it. IHOP is adding booze to the menu at some locations. This is from CNN Business. It says, if you visit an IHOP in the not too distant future, chances are you may encounter some unexpected menu items that weren't available before. Beer, wine, and bubbly. That's going to be a hard pass to read. First off, not knocking IHOPs. I have a lot of good memories of there after playing like music or going downtown Austin. It's 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We just left the show and we're starving. And IHOP, I think it was off of 35 and Cesar Chavez, I think was the IHOP we used to go to all the time. And it was full of my favorite people at 1 or 2 in the morning. Everybody went there, the musicians, the crackheads, the homeless, the crackheads, the single, the couples, the crackheads. It was an eclectic, diverse mix of people. I can't imagine adding booze to the mix will harm that culture at all. I don't know how, actually, I've been to an IHOP in our old suburb of Kyle. And it was the opposite. It was old vets telling war stories in the corner, like whatever time of the day you went. That IHOP in Kyle is when I learned IHOP serves more than breakfast, which to me sounded disgusting. Why would I want a hamburger at the International House of Pancakes? I came here because I wanted a pancake. It's in the name, your IHOP. I think they did try International House of Burgers as a marketing campaign once, or they changed their name to something years ago. I ignored it because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. This is the International House of Pancakes. And I don't think any booze would go good with my blueberry maple pancakes. But, who am I? We do have a question later about food pairings. Maybe that's the one area y'all will criticize me the most on this episode is, Josh, you idiot. You don't you know that a good lager goes well with pancakes and bacon? And this is the exact kind of syrup you should use with that beer because it will make it better. I don't know. Again, this is one of those episodes I'm going to be begging for feedback and the comments for either y'all's corrections on me or your suggestions and feedback, because like I said, I'm so used to throwing something out there and then having Todd, James, or Joe or another guest be able to try to take it in and then make sense of what I said or answer my legitimate question. And I can then pretend like, oh, I only asked that because the people listening are going to want to know. I know the answer, but you, the listener, would probably ask this. And so on your behalf, let me do that. And now I don't have like a soundboard to bounce this off of. But yes, if you're going to IHOP, if your IHOP already serves booze, let me know what kind they're serving and how it's received in your area. Now that we live in a college town in San Marcos, there is an IHOP off of the highway, as is most of these IHOPs. They're off the highway for easy access for that 1 a.m. crowd, I'm sure. There, I don't have a reason to go there except now I want to go see if they're serving booze. And I imagine it's going to be through, the article. Let me pull it up again. Oh, it does say it. The company's new menu, Bud Light, Blue Moon, and Corona beers, as well as Barefoot Bubbly Brut, Barefoot Bubbly Chardonnay, and Barefoot Cabernet Sauvignon. Some locations may have local offerings as well. Hard liquor is not on the menu to avoid making IHOP, a family restaurant, feel like a bar. Yeah, that'll change that. But again, my whole experience with IHOP is like 2 a.m. So it never felt like a family restaurant to me from when I was, 17 to 25 or when I started having kids and the music dream died and I gave that up. That's when I stopped going to IHOP. But I can't, again, I don't imagine deciding to have alcohol at IHOP, but who knows? Maybe that's going to be the new place people get smashed on a Tuesday morning as they're having or spiking your coffee. If they put it in a coffee mug, oh, there we go. Then you just tell them like, hey, I know it's 8 a.m. and I know I'm here with my family. Don't tell my wife, but could you just serve me in a coffee mug, but just make it that. I don't even feel gross saying it, but it was on the article. That Bud Light, you put in a coffee mug. I'll blow on it like it's hot, like when I'm drinking it. I'll do the acting. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so yeah, obviously for future episodes, guys, when we do craft beer news, it won't just be me doing what I just did. It'll be bouncing off of Todd and James and getting input. Let me know what you think. If that kind of a segment would be something you'd be interested in lieu of a drawn out small talk, which we're not getting rid of small talk. Don't get me wrong. I can't get rid of small talk. It's embedded in me. I am a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and a black belt in small talk. So that's not going anywhere, but I do want to know if this is something you think would add value. We're always trying to, we get a lot of questions every week from you guys and we thank you. And a lot of y'all are very straightforward. You submit the questions because you want the gift card. I get it, but it's a mutual beneficial thing. But sometimes the questions every week, for me, it's hard to find stuff we haven't covered yet. And we're also trying to keep engagement with our community and our industry, like what's going on. So if you have any suggestions for what we could do to make this show better, or if you think, hey, that segment thing would be cool, maybe you should do it as like its own 10-minute standalone show though, and publish that at a different time in the week, we could consider that too. One of my favorite tech podcasts, the Daily Tech News Show, which is Tom Merritt. Now I'm butchering his last name and I'm not going to edit that out, but Tom, he was from CNET a long time ago. And then I knew him from Twitch, which was like, it is a podcast network. They do this kind of thing where they have a few shows that they put out throughout the week. And I think they all started as a segment of the main show. And then it just made more sense to make them their own show. So I would love your feedback on that and what you think we could do to make this show better, which obviously the first suggestion will be don't do a show by yourself, Josh. Just don't. So anyway, we do have 4 questions for you against my better judgment. The first one was a text message to our hotline at 325-305-6107 from my buddy Carl. Carl wrote, I want to add a dedicated sparkling water line to my keezer. What are some of the basics? What PSI should I serve it at? And do I need to have a special tap? Carl, I fielded this question because I was going to have Todd and James on this week, and I wanted to be able to have ones that I could answer in case their internet connection was bad. And then it so happened that they weren't going to be able to do the whole show anyway. So this is perfect for me because I make sparkling water all the time. If I have a keg that I switch back and forth between kombucha and sparkling water, because sometimes my big batches of kombucha need more time in the fermenter before I transfer to this little 2.5 gallon mini keg. It's a ball lock keg, and I use the CM Becker event faucet to dispense, whether it is kombucha or water in there. Making sparkling water is the easiest thing you'll ever make in our world of brewing. And I'm doing air quotes for audio only listeners because it's not brewing. You're force carbonating water, and then you can basically instantly serve it. The longer it sits in the keg, the more carbonic bite it's going to get. But I'll tell you my process. So I have this 2.5 gallon keg. I fill it with water and I throw it in the fridge immediately. I don't carbonate it because my understanding of forced carbonation and how CO2 not dissolves, dissolves itself into the liquid that it's in. The colder the liquid, the easier a job that CO2 is going to have carbonating it. It's going to be a quicker process and a more efficient or effective. I don't know which E word I'm looking for. Just trust me, the colder your beverage, the better when you're forced carbonating. So I'll fill up the 2.5, or if I have an extra 5 gallon. At the new house, I don't have room for 5 gallon kegs, so that's why I'm using these 2.5 gallons. I'll throw it in the fridge. Sometimes I forget about it for a day or two, and then I will get my portable, my 20-ounce CO2 that I use to fill and dispense with, and I will put it on there at 30 or 35 PSI, and I will rock it just like I do a keg of beer that we're going to be forced carbonating. I'll rock it on my knee. I'll do the whole, watch Todd's video. I'll put it in the show notes below so that you can have a reference point. But if you follow his instructions for forced carbing, that is going to get you what you need for sparkling water. You don't, instead of it being your beer and all the stuff Todd in that video says about beer, just ignore that because it's just going to be your water. Now, with the CM Becker event faucet, I'm able, because it's a flow control, it's a super handy flow control. I'll also have that linked in the description below in the show notes. It can handle whatever. I can force carb at 35 and never readjust and serve. And if it's just coming out flying, I can adjust that restriction on board of the actual event faucet. I just turn the knob to the left or to the right, to tighten it down. And then boom, I'm controlling the rate of flow. If it was beer, it would be controlling the restriction and the foam. But with sparkling water for me, and I don't do any additives or anything, I have no foam to worry about. So I sometimes let it just rip. Or, if I'm concerned about making a mess in the glass or whatever, I tone it down. With that being said, if you followed us on Instagram since the conception of Homebrew Happy Hour's Instagram, you can see old video clips of me. I would use a V2G. So on the CM Becker scale, it's a V3S basically is the replacement for the V2G. And I would have a tap dedicated to water, and I would have that line at 30 PSI, and it would fly out. Don't get me wrong, just super fast. It was awesome. And it still was fine. I didn't mess anything up. The pressure didn't blow anything on these faucets. These faucets can handle that kind of stuff. Now, I don't know the longevity of it because I didn't do it for much more than like a year before I got a proper flow control faucet for water, the event faucet, but it handled it. As long as you, how should I say it without, I can't imagine if you want to dispense at that high PSI just to keep that carbonic bite strong and not have it mellow out, then I would still safely suggest, dispense it at whatever pressure you want. Maybe those old party faucet taps, you might find some issues with going out that hard. You might, mess one of those up in regards to they couldn't handle that pressure. But I imagine most, because you did say you have a teaser, so that implies you're using kegs. So that's why I'm specifically talking about the keg part of it. because you can do bottles. Todd has done plastic bottles before. I don't, because it terrifies me putting that kind of pressure in any kind of plastic bottle. Nothing has exploded on us yet. Todd has taunted me with the plastic bottle in front of me going, look at the carbonation, as he has it at 30 PSI. I don't like that, but Todd's done it before and swears by it. Now with bottles though, the problem is every time you open to serve, especially if it's a 2 liter, if you're not drinking that 2 liter, then it's starting to get flat quick. In the keg, sitting at 15 psi on the low end up to 30 or 35, you're not losing any carbonic bite. And I keep bringing up carbonic bite because that's what I like in in a sparkling water on tap. I drink Topo Chico, which is Coca-Cola bottom, so everyone in the United States I think has access to Topo Chico. That is like it's the Bart's root beer of sparkling water. It has so much bite. If you get one in the plastic bottle and when you unscrew it, you'll just see it go and all the bubbles. It's beautiful. Actually, the Mexican restaurant I eat at like almost every day. My wife doesn't watch this and she doesn't pay the bill, so she doesn't know. These size plastic bottles for Topo Chico, I open it and then it's insane the amount of instant carbonation that happens. I like that in my sparkling water. Some people, myself included, will sometimes prefer a mellower, like a San Pellegrino is on the more mellow end of carbonation of water with gas in it. Then I would suggest forced carbing and serving low, or don't even do the rocking thing. Get your cold water, put it at 15 PSI, give it a couple days or give it a day and start dispensing, and it'll probably be at the same kind of carbonic bite that San Pellegrino is at, or like Perrier. That's also on the lower end of carbonic bite, in my opinion, in my expertise opinion. LaCroix is somewhere between Perrier and Topo Chico, but I don't like LaCroix. I think it's French for Wisconsin butt sweat. I forgot how it translates, but LaCroix is not my favorite. There are local ones. Waterloo here in Austin's a good one. Your local grocery store probably has a dozen various options, and if you're trying to replicate a specific one, like, hey, I want the kind of bite that this brand has, it'd be good to play around with PSIs and see how longer carbonation over time, or higher carbonation, what it does to it and how you prefer it. And you can always, the good thing about making sparkling water is it's dirt cheap. I imagine it's less than 75 cents for a 5-gallon batch, maybe $1. I'm using your own tap water. I don't know the water rates very well, but it is dirt cheap to make. So if you make a batch that's like, oh God, that's way too much bite. Okay, well, you can, pressure relief it, let it sit for a couple days, and start drinking it. Flat water is not really a thing in my experience. Like, it just goes back to tasting kind of normal with a little bit of carbonic acid residue. And if I keep using that word wrong, y'all let me know. I'm pretty sure carbonic is the right way to say it. But anyway, what did I said? Using kegs, why I like it more than plastic. Yep. And then do you need a special tap? I think that's the most debatable part of my answer for this. I think James would say you do, just to be safe. You want a tap like a flow control or a pre-mix valve or post-mix valve, because that'll ensure that the internals can handle if you're going to be dispensing it at 30 plus PSI. I did that on standard V2G, which are like V3Ss from CM Becker. They're stainless steel. They're forward seal. They have creamer action. They're great faucets. I highly recommend them. Very budget friendly. I used that for 13, 14 months, the V2G, with 30 to 40 PSI of water, and I didn't have any issues at all. So again, if you want to be safe, and I always recommend getting the event faucet. We talk about it a bunch here. Obviously, y'all know I work for Todd Burns, who owns CM Becker International. So there, you could accuse me of bias, but go read the reviews. It is worth its weight in gold. That thing is typically on sale. And like, if we have a hard time getting them from Germany, then that's the only time they're not on sale, because Todd really does believe in it and wants to get them in the hands of people, especially for forced carbonated beer. That's where Todd swears by it. He thinks it's as life changing as, Keds themselves. So I do highly recommend getting it. But if you're trying to stay on a budget and using what you have, dude, you can be enjoying sparkling water at the very low price of whatever water costs you at whatever volume you're using. So, Carl, thank you so much for submitting that question. This is a great time to remind you, if and when we take your question on a future episode, we do give you a $25 gift card to techconnection.com, courtesy of the absent and having a terrible time because I'm not there in Germany with him, Todd Burns. Thank you, Todd, for your generosity. Moving on to question number 2, came from my buddy Rick, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Rick wrote, Joshua, a.k.a. Kolsch King. I like it. Send me your easiest, most delicious Kolsch recipe. I still can't find any near me. The city an hour away has more options. What should I look for to compare my batch to? Was it like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, someone called Todd, was it Keezer King or Keg King or the Kegerator King, or I don't know, but Kolsch King, that sounds way better. But I'm not the Kolsch King, actually. Brian from Kolsch Cup is the Kolsch King. I had a secret submission and everyone stored it bad, and I didn't want to bring it up with anyone else on the show. But I am not the Kolsch King. I'm the Kolsch Weizen King. But I would say, first off, Kolsch is worth an hour drive, dude. Or find some beer delivery service or Favor or something. You won't go an hour away to try the drink. I know, Rick. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Rick has been in my DMs before in very appropriate ways on Instagram when I post stuff about Frew and a cigar. So, which is like all the time. And you still haven't tried it? Dude, I don't know if Frew is actually available in your area, but any German import Kolsch is worth trying. Like y'all heard in the top segment with Todd and James, there's a new one. Todd did text me afterwards when I said, I don't remember Dome, or I never had it. And James was like, it was better than Peter's Kolsch. Todd messaged me immediately after they got off and he goes, dude, y'all have had Dome. And I was like, no, I've never had Dome. And he goes, I know you've had Dome. You were probably just trashed. I said, I've never been trashed, especially not in Cologne. But, that's a lie. No, if you want to brew the Kolsch without trying a commercial example of it, I give you my blessing to do that. I say you should do that too. But if you want to know what to compare it to, I would say, I think in my anecdotal experience from people across the country that I'm friends with and follow us at homebrewhappyhour.com and at Homebrew Happy Hour for our Instagram and Facebook, Reisdorf seems to be very available all across the country. Frew in select areas. I'm very fortunate that Frew is readily available within a 50-mile radius of me. So if my normal liquor store doesn't have it, I'll go to this liquor store. And I'm buddies with the distributor here at our local HEBs. And so he'll put a case of the cans for me at the San Marcos HEB. If you live in this area and you take my case of Kolsch, he puts them in like Fridays. If you take them before my wife's Saturday morning trips and there's no Frew in there, I'm going to find you. But you should, Rick, you should look. It's worth the hour drive, man. But anyway, I did write down one of my favorite recipes that it was from Lorena for homebrewsupply.com. And Joe loves this recipe, showed it to me. We've brewed it before. It's fantastic. And it's very simple. 9 pounds of Pilsner malt, 1 pound of Vienna malt, and then 1.5 ounces of Hallertau, which you'll do for a 60-minute boil. And it's just a 60-minute boil. And that's it. We mash at 152, 150 to be safe. Let's just say 150 or 152. If you go, I'll put the recipe link in the show notes so that you can click on it and get the exact thing. So I'm not misspeaking, but it's a very straightforward recipe for a very straightforward, enjoyable beer. But if, let me see, what do you say? What should I look for to compare my batch to? If you brew it right, it's going to be crispy like a lager. Like I said, if you can get Frew or Reisdorf or Soln, or I'm trying to think of other import ones. I think Grolsch. No, not Grolsch. That's an alt. Not Grolsch. And I was thinking of Goulash. Grolsch is a whole different type of beer. Pardon me. Goulash was an alt that we had in Dusseldorf once. I'm trying to think of the other types of Kolsch that I've seen on the shelves. The two main ones are Reisdorf and Frew. And if you can get one of those, I highly recommend them. Now, there are breweries based here that are brewing kolsch. Usually they'll call them kolsch style because the Germans have decreed you can't call it a kolsch unless it's brewed in Cologne. It's kind of like champagne, or what are some of the other things in the world that, like, if it's not from Champagne, it's not champagne, it's sparkling wine. When we brew kolsch, we call it a kolsch. And that doesn't even bother my German counterparts in Dusseldorf as much as the fact that I'm drinking kolsch. That bothers them more than me calling it kolsch. But there are people, Carbot's Blonde, some people swear is their best American, the best American representation of a kolsch from a big brewery. Carbot is big beer, just a heads up. I'm not a fan of Love Street from them. That's all they serve at Schlitterbahn in regards to like craft beer. Craft and air quotes. They don't even know if they have Hopadillo from Carbach, which is like probably their most popular one in this Austin area. But the Love Street, I've had it before. It's not my favorite. It's a little underwhelmingly overhopped in my opinion. But if you like that in a beer, you might enjoy that. But it's not a good representation of a kolsch. It's hard for me to think of an American brewery that has a great representation of a kolsch that isn't a microbrew in some random city. Like, I've gotten kolsches sent to me before, from Portland or in Colorado, a lot of small places doing their own version, and you try and you're like, oh, this is fantastic. And then you get your heart broken because you can't get it readily on tap because it's not available to you, because it's like New Glarus. Whenever I get those, most people swear me to secrecy when they send me the New Glarus, because I guess they have a policy. Nobody outside of our state can enjoy this. And I want to tag them every time. I'm enjoying it, and someone sent it to me. But I'm afraid they're going to work with the FBI and target my IP address to see who messaged me to send me the New Glarus. But I would love regional kolsches to get sent to me more frequently. When it happens, I love it. But if you are listening and you have like, hey, there is this kolsch from this brewery and I know for a fact they distribute, leave it in the comments so that we can help Rick out, because I feel bad if you can't get the German imports in your area. I would talk to your distributors. Most people live in states like Texas, I believe, with antiquated 3-tier type laws. So you're going to have to talk to a distributor to bring it in. But in the case of imports, that might be the best way to get it to your shelves, is by requesting it from your local distributor. Find out who's stocking your grocery stores and your liquor stores and tell them. And some liquor stores will do a special order. You might end up paying a premium for it, but it'll be worth it. Especially, I think that kolsch recipe, which again is in the link, is a link in the description and show notes below. I think you'll be very satisfied with just that. It's very straightforward. It's going to produce a very crushable, low ABV. It should finish out like 4.85-ish, maybe 4. You know what? I think it might actually be 4.5. 4.5 to 5 is what it's going to finish at. You can drink a ton of them and not get smashed and get accused by Todd of being smashed. You can brew it fairly easy, and if you control your fermentation temperatures, unlike I did for that one Kolschweizen I'll never let go of, you will have a very exceptional tasting beer that is one you can share with everybody. When we were at Teddy's Brew House not that long ago, I was talking to Wes, their head brewer, he's an awesome dude, and we were asking him about their best sellers, and he said, bar none, it's the Kolsch. And I was like, happy, obviously, like, oh yeah, because everyone loves Kolsch. He's like, it's not even that they love Kolsch, it's that they come in and they say, I normally drink Lone Star, or I normally drink. And so he's like, I know it doesn't taste like those, but it is the most straightforward beer we have, to where they're going to try it and their senses are going to go, it's familiar, it's safe, I like it. And that's what Kolsch is. That's what I love about it. It's not, it's aggressively plain. And I think that's going to be the title of my memoir, Aggressively Plain, the Joshua Stubing story, a.k.a. Kolsch King. Thanks to Rick. So, Rick, thank you so much for submitting your question. Again, the recipe is, let me start over. Frew or Reisdorf? If you can get Frew, get Frew. If you pay me enough, maybe we can talk about getting you some Frew. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Go an hour away to your city where you can get any kind of kolsch, because you're implying here that they do have kolsch there somewhere. So do that. Go to homebrewsupply.com and order that recipe kit. Or if you have a local shop that you prefer, get your 9 pounds of Pilsner malt, 1 pound of Vienna malt, and 1.5 ounces of Hallertau, and click on that recipe in the description and have yourself a good time. Happy Brew Day. Tag us, #BrewDay, #Homebrew Happy Hour, #Kolsch, #Joshua Kolsch King. And I'll add you $5 on your $25 gift card for Cat Connection for submitting this question. So anyways, Rick, thank you so much. Moving on to question number 3, came from our buddy Daniel, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Daniel wrote, do you fellas have any advice when it comes to pairing beer with food? My friend shared your podcast with me because he wants to start brewing. He wants me to start brewing with him. I'm also new to trying out different craft beers at the stores, but I am a longtime fan of eating more food than I should. Thanks for the help. Aren't we all, Daniel? Aren't we all fans of eating more than we should? You know, what a great segue after talking about kolsch. Am I right, guys? Everybody just cut off now. They're like, oh God, we knew he was going to do this with this episode. If he did a show by himself, it was going to be kolsch. Some episodes, I don't say kolsch a single time, and Todd brings it up afterwards. Good job, Josh. You did not talk about kolsch at all. In this episode, if he's listening right now on a fast train in Germany, he's going, son of a gun, why did I let him do the show by himself? I should have just canceled this week and waited till next week till I could be on it. But anyway, kidding aside, I do think kolsch goes with everything. But my best advice, I pre-read these questions. I'm not like Todd. I try to do some kind of homework or thought as I'm fielding questions and putting them on the show. I really think that this is the most subjective, ridiculous kind of question someone can answer in confidence. And when I read magazines or articles about the 5 best beers to have, or 5 best foods to have with your pastry stout or with your IPA, I think it's just clickbait. I think it's just people. I mean, it's interesting conversation, but it's not objective. And I don't need objectivity in my life to function. But your palate is not the same as mine. I have people literally telling me on Instagram in my messages that my taste buds are garbage. That like when some of the stuff that I bring up, they're like, oh, bro, you must have burned your palate with all those cigars, idiot. Because here's what you should be trying with that. Or like I'm grilling burgers and it's another kolsch. You think they'd know all I'm drinking is kolsch on most weekends. Kolsch. I've been real into that Paulina Pils, and then obviously Pilsner or Quell. Those are the most predictable beers you'll find me drinking, guys. And with cigars, it's usually a stout or something. But that's not because I'm not going to sit here and argue objectively. Left hand melt stout on nitro goes better with the cigar than your real ale Fireman's 4. I think it does. I think that the stout goes better, but there are people who like hoppier beers with their cigars. There are people who don't like beer at all with their cigars. They like whiskey with their cigars. There are people who like coffee with their cigars. Where I guess I'm going with this, Daniel, as a cop out for this is that this is one of those things you have to experiment to get it dialed in. Now, there are some general suggestions. Like I just said, I think burgers go well with crushable, crispy beers like lagers or kolsches. Sometimes like a pale ale, which some of the beers we get that call pale ale are just as hoppy as an IPA. So, I think some IPAs are a little too much with like burgers, red meat. A pale ale. Speaking of real ale, is it Swifty or Shifty? I think it's Swifty, but it might be called Shifty. Their pale ale is one of my favorite. Or actually, pardon me. Let me rewind. Their pale ale is great with the burger. Hans Pils from Real is probably my favorite burger beer from a domestic beer. Obviously, Fru or any kolsch is my favorite beer with a burger. But Hans Pils, if I have some in there in the fridge and we're grilling outside, which grilling season for us for burgers is wrapping up. Summertime's up. My kids are in school now. Making burgers isn't, I don't know. It's a summertime thing for me more than any other time. Or my pop is doing them when we go to their house once a week to have a family lunch. So I'm not grilling as much, but when I did, having a Hans Pils with it was my favorite, which is a German Pilsner. I would highly recommend those with like burgers. I think if you Google search, there are like craft beer magazine articles about oh, here you have this kind of food group. Here's what kind of beers you should have, and here's why. Because the alpha acids of the hops used in this are best, expressed when paired with blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm a troglodyte. I'm a Neanderthal. I'm an idiot. I'm like or not troglodyte. Is that even a word? I'm a Luddite is what I was trying to say. I'm an idiot is what I'm getting at. Can't even use big words without it exposing myself as an idiot. I'm a experiment cause and effect kind of dude. There is a draft house that shows movies in our area called Alamo Draft House. My wife and I went there for a brunch showing, is what they call the matinee, early. It was like an 11:30 a.m. showing. It might have been The Last Jedi, because I remember being pissed sitting in the theater, like, why did I pay for this? But the highlight of that showing was they had Founders Melt Stout Nitro on tap, and I got their French toast. And I, obviously it was 11:30 a.m. I only had one, Mom. It was phenomenal pairing. The mouthfeel of that stout with the vanilla notes of the French toast and the syrup they had there. I mean, every time we go there now, no matter what time, they don't always serve pancakes though. So I'm having to go, if we go to a movie, which it's been forever since we have been to a movie, I try to get that same pairing because for me, it's just, I don't know why I got a beer at 11:30. I don't have drinking problems, but I think I was just like, I know I'm going to get pancake or French toast. I want French toast. It's been a while since I've had French toast. And then I saw, oh my God, y'all have this on tap right now? It's the left-hand melt stout. Like, yes, we do. We, it's cycled in for right now. And I was like, well, serve me up. And it was the best decision I ever made. And it was just by dumb luck. I would never at home probably crack open a beer at breakfast time. At Homebrew Con, you end up doing that on the floor, but not usually with breakfast food. You don't even know it's 9:30 in the morning. It's like a Vegas casino. They move all the clots and they pump oxygen in there and have a good time. But this was just dumb luck for me. And maybe that's what it'll be for you with trying beers. Like, I would think some beers that you're having have to kind of signal to your brain some kind of food note as well. There's frequently beers I have where I'm like, man, that reminds me of insert food here. And for me, because I'm like a fan of those gastro type foods, nachos and burgers and wings. So when I have beer, I do like IPAs specifically with hot wings. I don't know what the pairing is. To me, my lizard brain thinks that all the hoppiness is kind of helping mellow out the burn when I get the overly hot wings, but I'm getting it to look like a tough guy in front of my kids because they don't think I'm tough. That kind of stuff, again, usually just dumb luck, or because my brain just for some reason thinks, oh, I'm trying this beer. You know what probably would go good with this is, X, Y, or Z. So I would say that is my best recommendation, is to experiment and also, bypass us and Google to see if there's any articles that have better things than just a 10-minute ramble that gave you nothing. No, I hope I was able to help you out a little bit, Daniel. Pairing is just so subjective, and you would think out of my laziness, I would be more content with like vague answers, but I want to be as helpful as possible, but I also don't want to lead you astray. Because if I go, listen, bud, here, no matter what, this beer with this food is always going to go right. And then you'll go, I don't even like that food, idiot. And I go, oh, well, crap. Maybe you're not going to like that beer. So it's very subjective. This gives you a reason though to cook more and to drink more. So use this for your market research. Get your favorite beers, start making some of your favorite meals and trying them yourselves. Now, there are people in our life, speaking of, specifically, I'm referring to Homebrew Happy Hour connections. We have wine experts that I've been trying to get on the show forever about pairing wine with food, because I guess that realm is more objective or more meticulous, or at least they're just more confident in their pretending than I am, where they're like, oh, Joshua, yes, this Chardonnay will pair best with and there's like whole like books and encyclopedias written about it. Where for me with beer, it's like beer good, food good, how can they be wrong together? If it's a good beer and a good food, how can they not go together? But anyways, Daniel, I appreciate that. Moving on to our last question. For those of you who have stuck around with me, it came from my buddy Kenneth, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Kenneth wrote, how do I get my wife more involved with brewing? When I started quarantine brewing May 2020, I envisioned it being a couples activity. She loves me. She loves drinking beer. She has not been enthralled by any of the 7 brew days I've completed. Please send help. Now, Kenneth wrote this after the last time we offered relationship advice. I don't know if you listened to that episode, Kenneth. If you did, then you're a dummy for sending. No, you're not. I would say don't push things on people if they're not into it. You're lucky that your wife enjoys the drinking beer part. My wife wants nothing to do with the brewing or the consuming. She is the demographic who's into the hard seltzers. She's been a lot of White Claws. When we were at the beach, she had a lot of White Claws. I'm not complaining. I mean, I had to watch the kids a little bit more, but they're old enough. They basically watch themselves. But I would say, to be as serious as possible, to ask her what part about it is the least enjoyable. If you're making her do all the cleaning and stuff, I would understand. She'd be like, no, Kenneth, you brew yourself, man. Like you're letting her stir the mash. I mean, you may be doing just extract brewing. That could also be it too. Not gonna lie, I love extract brewing. We've done a few batches in the last year, even though me and my dad are all grain brewers. We've before gone back a few times to extract brewing for saving time. That's actually the main reason, just to save time, to make it a faster brew day and have everything done and expedited. And I love it for that, but it's not sexy, right? And I'm using that word in a marketing way. Like it's not involved, where people sometimes lose the luster for brewing if they do extract, mainly because they romanticize brewing. They're like, oh, brewing is this involved thing where I have to, I'm over my kettle and I'm stirring the mash and I'm taking the temperature and I'm Todd Burns with my refractometer and look like an explorer. The sugars aren't right still. Let's up the boil time. We need to add more of this grain but there are also people like me who are like, I just want to make good beer. And if you are extract brewing, and without specialty grains to even do the steeping part, which is like the most activity you get done in an extract brew day besides transferring, maybe that's why. Maybe she's just not enthralled. I didn't ask for more details from Kenneth in regards to does she dislike it? Because you just used the word, she has not been enthralled. Well, I don't know of anyone who's enthralled by brewing at all at any level, but for partial mash or just straight up extract brewing, that could be why. Maybe it's just because there's nothing to be enthralled by, and there's nothing wrong with that. You make great beer even with these recipe kits or with your own homemade extract batch or recipe that you come up with, but you don't have to I'm not saying to complicate it for the sake of getting her more involved, but I suspect if you're not already all grain brewing, that might be an easier way to go, hey honey, can you help me pour the grains in while I stir? Or can you stir? Especially depending on your bill. Yeah, hey, pick up that heavy bag. I'm going to stir. No, I'm going to pour the grains. Can you stir for me? Getting her involved in the mash when you're all grain brewing, again, assuming you're not already, would be one way of getting, involvement. The next brew day, my pop and I have, my oldest kid has expressed interest in helping, and that's where she's going to help. She's going to stir as we're pouring in grains and then watch over the process. It's a slow burn for me. My passions in life, like brewing and jujitsu, I want my kids, I've got 3 daughters, I want them to pick it up and I want them to enjoy it, but I don't want to burn them out. I don't want to scare them from the things I enjoy so that they either resent these things and the tradition dies with them, or they push back because I'm pushing too much. My middle kid, Esther, was really into jujitsu for the 3 months she was able to before she had her whole brain scare. And new people listening, I won't bore you, but she had a ganglioma brain tumor, got removed. She's doing great now. We love her. Esther just started the 4th grade. She's a wonderful kid, but she doesn't have the green light yet to start jujitsu again. when she does get the green light from her neuro-oncologist and her surgery team, she can't wait. She gets started back up. It meant so much to me that she wanted to do it. And I wasn't because I was like, come on, kids, we got to go to jiu-jitsu. You're signed up. Do it. It was me kind of showing her jiu-jitsu, me kind of talking about it, and her getting interest. My oldest kid, I took the same approach with her, and no desire. None at all. And I've even been like, well, but what if I signed you up? And she's 11 years old. She said, no, Daddy, I'm not going to do jiu-jitsu. No, thank you. Okay. I don't have the heart in me to be like, yes, you are. But same with brewing, right? I want to get her involved slowly over time. My oldest is only 11 and then 9, and my youngest is 4. My youngest is going to be the alcoholic. I know it. She loves brew day. No, I'm kidding. She's never brewed with us, but my oldest, I want to get her involved with that because I like, she already likes cooking with my wife, and brewing is basically cooking. And so we get her into that. By the time she is of legal age to be drinking and brewing, maybe she will have a much better track record than I do with brewing. Maybe she'll have her own recipes. Maybe she'll pursue this as a passion. I don't know. I would love all that, but I know by pushing it too hard, she's probably going to resist. And I imagine your wife, Kenneth, is like that too. If she's anything like my wife, which stereotyping all women because they're all the same. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Is anybody left listening to this episode? My wife, I've tried to get involved with brewing, and in the first days I was very pushy. I was like, get over here. Not quite like that, but I was more, she kind of got turned off by how much, yeah, you like that? You like this? Try this, try. Where now she started getting into alcoholic beverages outside of the wine she was drinking from conversations we would have, or me talking about, hey, I met this person in the industry, that a Mighty Swell in Austin that makes hard seltzer. Oh, what is hard seltzer? Conversation like that, piquing the interest. So maybe, finding out what is your wife loves drinking beer. Are you brewing her favorite styles? Maybe that would get her involved with that brew day. Hey, honey, you love orange or lemon drop Pilsner. You love lemon drop. That's your favorite commercial beer. Why did I say lemon drop Pilsner? There's no commercial examples of that I know of. You love a wheat beer. You love Blue Moon, sweetheart. Well, look, here's this, or you love Shot Top, and here's this clone recipe I found. Let's brew this together, and then this will be your version of it. Stuff like that, enticing them. I don't know. I didn't bother to follow up with Kenneth to tell me the details. What is your wife's astrological sign? What is her age group? What does she enjoy? What is her free time? I don't need all those details, but I just mean, generally speaking, if you ease their feet into the water, it'll be more likely they'll want to swim, in my experience. But again, you've heard my relationship advice on previous episodes before, and I admit I'm an awful parent. I'm just an absent father. I'm not around. So everything I say, take with a grain of salt, because it's not to be taken serious. But I hope the best that you're able. I obviously, it's not stopping your brewing, so that's good. As long as she's not against you brewing, live and let live, man. Join a homebrew club if you need people to brew with, assuming you're out of lockdown or quarantine. I didn't actually ask Kenneth where he's at, because some of our Australian buddies have been hitting me up like, back to lockdown, man, or hold on, we're back to lockdown, mate, and I have to brew on my own again about, dingo babies, and they're sending me messages like that, and I feel for you guys down there. But hopefully y'all are getting a lot of brewing in, and maybe using this time to hone your craft. But anyways, Kenneth, thank you so much for submitting your question. Guys, that went so much longer than I thought this was going to be a 20-minute episode, and I rambled. For anyone who has stuck around with me for this whole episode, I appreciate you so much. I apologize so much as well, but I appreciate you first and foremost. If you would have any suggestions or feedback on any of the parts that we added to this show, or any of the questions that we fielded, please email them, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. But your best bet for me to see them is by leaving them in the comments below at youtube.com/homebrewhappyhour. Find this episode if you're listening to this by audio, and leave your feedback in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'm told I don't say that enough, and the algorithms, our YouTube channel is growing. It's fantastic. Our audio only has always been a lot more listeners than our YouTube, and it still is, but our YouTube's growing a lot. So we appreciate that. And if you would like, share, and subscribe to all of our stuff. We greatly appreciate you guys. So with that, let me wrap up this episode by saying that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. If you're wanting to take your brewing to the next level, go check out the sweet new Herm system available right now at brautag.com, or go directly to ketconnection.com/BRAUTAG and take advantage of the incredible introductory offer going on for a limited time. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, the incredibly handsome James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.